Getting serious. I'm putting the gogs on.
I love it. Episode 15, we are live.
Here
Well,
we go.
um, so let's jump right in and get an update on where things are at. I can just go really quick. I did not get a chance to work on much this last week. A lot of it was just like cleanup stuff. My inbox was ridiculous. I had to like my email. I had some domain renewals to make. I had like just stuff like that, like weird stuff. I had a couple of sponsored posts to put up, so that was good. I made a little bit of money this week. Um, but yeah, other than that, I didn't work on anything else really, so I don't have much of an update.
So let me ask you quickly. So you don't have much of an update about work you did do, but remind everybody what it is that you are looking to focus on when you get the chance to do it.
Two things right now, primarily. Well, three things really. Number one, I'm revitalizing my content game. So for the last 6 months, I've been really slacking on new blog posts and things like that. So getting that ramped up.
Yep.
Um, also, more I got to get back on the video train, and I started the podcast, so I got more episodes to record for that. So that's content. Number two, continuing to build out my products and services, and any relation they have to a membership program. So I'm still working on that. And then number three, I'm continuing to work on um, the offerings inside of those membership tiers. So the very specific things that members will get when they purchase those tiers.
Right.
When I was putting the tiers together, it was more like conceptual in terms of like, I'd like to offer this, I'd like to offer this, I'd like to offer this, but I need to actually build the things inside of there. So that's really product and service development, if you will.
Right.
Product development. That's like, those are kind of the three things that I'm focusing on.
So this kind of is a segue into what I'm going to talk about too, but we had talked about and we looked at competitors and kind of a market overview and how we could position our businesses, that kind of thing, last week. So, given that you're looking at product development, product strategy, pricing, that kind of thing, have you fleshed out your business plan for this? Is that done?
No, this is kind of build the plane while it's flying in the air.
Okay, you did mention that. So I was just curious if you had maybe made some progress on that.
No, I think I've done a good job. Since we recorded that video, I have done a good job paring down what was in those membership tiers. When I looked at it a couple days after that recording or a week after that recording, I was like, this is too much. I got to start a little smaller. I think I was biting off more than I could chew. So I think I've done a good job.
It's not like you, Bob.
I know, right? That's so not brand for me.
Right.
No, it was a difficult thing to do because you always think more is better, but it's not. Less
Right.
is more. So what I have been doing is refining. I mean, it's almost like I'm working kind of bottom up, actually. I'm like figuring out what I'm going to offer and how I'm going to offer it, and then hoping that rolls up to the bigger picture of like, here's what I do and here's what I offer. So
kind of like reverse planning, right?
Yeah, reverse planning, which actually I think inherently my mind goes there because one of my favorite books is Playing to Win, and the way they talk about strategy development in there is literally reverse engineering. It's reverse engineering. It's working backwards in a way. So maybe just I think my brain's kind of wired that way.
Sure.
One other thing, I guess, additionally, real quick, is I am spending some time building my own framework. This is something I've been working on for a while, and I just kind of piddle with it every now and then and pick it up. But basically, I believe there's a better version of some of the competing products out there that I think I could offer. So, for example, EOS, Metronomics, great game of
What was the
business.
last one?
Metronomics.
Okay.
Metronomics, great game of business, scaling up. These are all frameworks. These are all business frameworks, operating systems, whatever you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I love all of those. I've read them all. I've studied them all. I believe there's something else that could be offered. Oh, the other one is Pinnacle. That's Greg Cleary's. I believe that there's another version of that could be a little bit more unique. And I kind of
Another version of what?
that type of like operating system, business
That type
operating
of framework. Okay.
framework. Here's the deal. It would be easy to say that's a crowded space. There's already a lot in there. And one route I could take is to become certified in one of those. Like I could become a certified EOS implementator, right? I could sign up. I could be certified in scaling up or economics. What I don't like about that though is I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's like, you're not necessarily a slave to that methodology, but you have to teach that methodology, and you're not really supposed to stray from it. You're kind of
Yeah, you've kind of mentioned this in the past, and I believe your rationale, and I was with you, is you want to be able to work with the issues that the business is facing. And if that particular framework doesn't necessarily fit that issue real well, you want to have the flexibility to work within a different framework. And I think that made sense to me.
Yeah, and also like, I mean, if you look at each one individually,
or just use the best practices of those frameworks, right?
Yeah, like EOS, it's more of almost like it's an operating system, and it's like here's how you run your cadence of meetings, and
it's kind of like you want to cherry pick.
Yeah, I want to take a little bit of stuff from there, but then also the competitive stuff or the strategy stuff that comes out of like scaling up.
Right.
And you want to take some of the metric stuff out of Metronomics, like
right.
But I want to build my own. I don't want to steal theirs. I want to build my own comprehensive operating
the concept of what they use in their framework is a starting point for you to build your own.
Correct. Yeah. Like EOS is not a strategy platform. It's how you run your business. It's not, and I'm a big fan of strategy. I love strategy. I love how companies create strategies. So if you're out there and you're watching this and you dig that, read Playing to Win. That is, if you ask
me, love that book.
That is the quintessential guide for how strategy is developed.
I still haven't read that. I have to read that book.
You have to. The first story they talk about in the book is Procter and Gamble and their Oil of Olay brand.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
They walked through basically how they reinvented that brand. It was all strategy play. It was they picked where they wanted to play and how they were going to win. And they talk about how they sold Maxwell House Coffee, and there's just some great stories in that book. And then there's actually hey, here's how you do this. Here's how they did it there. Here's how you do it. So
do you remember how you were asked by fellow peers when you were actually reading that book about how that was applicable to a small business? What was your response to that?
Yeah, the pushback was like, oh, this book doesn't even relate to us because this is like shampoo and stuff. And I'm just like,
big, large corporation called Procter and Gamble. It doesn't apply to us.
Yeah, it's like, no, you got to look past that. Like, we all, big or small, product or service, all are facing the same issues and problems. And some of it's competitive, right? We have competitors in the marketplace.
Right.
I've also heard that argument, and I heard that argument from peers and invest. Well, we don't have any competitors. We don't look at competitors.
Okay.
I'm like, well, maybe that's why we're failing. Like,
that would be the perfect world if the business had no competitors.
Yeah. Or one thing I'm also a huge fan of is like scenario planning. Okay, you want to know something that leveled everybody? COVID.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. It didn't matter if you were big or small. There were huge airlines that lost billions of dollars because they basically had to shut down. How is that any different than the small business who had to shut down because they couldn't serve their product to customers anymore?
Yeah, in a SWOT analysis, I would call that an external threat that actually happened.
Yes, and that's yeah. So it's like, no, this actually take their product in the story in the book and just plug yours in there.
Right.
And basically the stories are the same. This product was not selling anymore because you know why? The consumer changed. The consumer changed. So they had to pivot. They had to and they had a choice. They either bury the brand and get rid of it, they sell it off, or they reinvent it. And they reinvented it. And it's an amazing story. Oil of Olay, which is not called Oil of Olay anymore, actually part of the re-strategizing was they dumped Oil of, and now it's just called Olay.
Olay. Yep.
That was part of and they talk about in the book why they did that. They also drastically changed the price of the product. They went from being sold in like Walgreens and CVS for like $3.99 a bottle to moving to like a mid-tier market, like $13.99, $14.99, and selling at department stores.
Yep.
Like these are all very interesting decisions they made around how they frame their price. That's no different than anybody else.
Right.
That's actually no different than me and you. We need to make the same decisions. That is, I love that. That's what I love. I would love to help companies walk through that. I can't do that with EOS. I can tell you what meetings you got to have with EOS, and I can tell you how you set your rocks and how you track your scorecard. But I actually want to blend the best of all of those and put it together. That's so.
The reason I asked that is because, well, one, it plays off of the video we did last time, which was, to try to figure out the competitive marketplace and how we were going to position ourselves within it, right? That's exactly what the example you just said did. They went through the rigmarole to define how they were going to position themselves in the market with their consumers,
right? Yep.
Probably with the vendors. What kind of pricing were they going to look at? And they looked at all of their competitors to figure out what space could they occupy on the shelf to be purchasable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like that's a single product, and every business that's out there has to go through that understanding to try to figure out how they're going to fit within the marketplace. And they have to understand how their consumer is going to relate to that in order for that purchase to be made. I mean, I'm going through that right now by building this business plan.
Not only did that, they actually took the product and re-engineered it. So,
well, they did.
Yeah, they brought in their scientists, and they
went to R&D.
They found different chemical compounds that they could put into their product, right? And then the biggest thing they did, the thing that really took Olay over the top, was they realized that their core consumer base was concerned about aging, wrinkles.
Yep.
So they developed a tagline that stuck, and it was "Fight the 7 signs of aging." That was that, and I mean, I don't know if you remember commercials with Olay that talked about,
I don't actually
fighting the 7 signs of aging. I remember because I remember, this is decades ago, hearing that was their catchphrase, and that's really what took. It was like, and they created products that were all in one skincare type stuff, but they went after specifically the aging, the 7 signs of aging, the crow's feet, the wrinkles, and they attacked that. That was their strategy. That was their go-to-market plan, was we're going to get those people to see that our product is different. And they got, all the scientific studies done. So they had the data to show that it worked. It was a whole comprehensive plan. They talk about it in the book, and it's fascinating. And that's only one story in there. They talked about all the other decisions they had to make to turn their business around.
It's going to be exciting for me when you figure out how you're going to build your own little piece of this pie based on what you're talking about, pulling the best of from kind of these frameworks that you're talking about and building your own program and how you're going to position it. How are you going to position it with all of these other ones? Right?
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear how you're going to do that.
But unlike former colleagues who didn't understand how to take lessons from that book, I'm going to do what Procter & Gamble did with Oil of Olay.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
They gave you the process.
These are the things I'm going to look at. And
Right.
even though I'm selling a business coaching package and not
Yeah.
a bottle of cream,
Completely
doesn't
applicable.
matter. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. You're looking at all the same things. So
That
yeah,
is, in essence, a framework.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's other things too. A lot of these other disciplines, these books, whatever, don't teach things like scenario planning and things like these are things that are really, really important that I think a lot of businesses miss. They don't see. They don't spend the time to do.
Right.
I'd love to walk
I
them
think
through.
that last point you made is probably the biggest one. They don't take the time to do it.
Yeah, it'll take time to do it. So it's like if you're going to invest in a framework, here's the different steps that you need to walk through every year and think about and do. And one of my favorite things about attending a Traction quarterly meeting or an annual meeting is when we would do one of the activities, one of the tool activities.
Mm-hmm.
So like one of them was the revenue exercise, and it basically it was a I can't remember exactly what it's called, but the Traction, it was an exercise. It was a worksheet.
Yep.
You work through to understand where your money comes from and
Yep.
how it's made and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Like the problem is you did that. It took 30 minutes and you did it, and cool. Then you moved on to okay, now let's talk about rocks. Like it's
what about when you did like the proven process? Like that was an interesting one.
Yeah, you're right. Yep,
Going
exactly.
through that was interesting for me. I think
I would argue take the time to really dive deep on some of those things.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's what I'd like to do. That's what
totally.
So I dabble in continuing to build out that framework.
Okay.
Well, now, again, I could be like everybody else. I could just join EOS. I could join Scaling. I could do that. But this is going to be the harder route because I'm basically creating something new that nobody's seen before, and I'm going to have to build awareness around it.
It'll be more challenging. Absolutely.
It's going to be way more challenging.
Yep.
Look, if I wanted to be a Scaling Up coach today, I could. I just pay the $30,000.
Right.
Get certified, and done. Okay.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's easy. It's not. I'm just saying I'm really taking the harder route. I'm basically creating a new path.
You are building a new brand / product / service.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's a way different challenge than just picking up a model and promoting it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I have a lot of respect for, like, I'm going to name drop again, Greg Cleary.
Yep.
For a long time. And I don't feel I'm okay dropping his name because he's actually known in many, many of these coaching circles because he was the first EOS certified coach, I believe.
Really? I didn't know he was the first.
Yeah, he was one of the first. He was one of the I don't know if he was the first, but he was in the first bunch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That explains a lot.
What I know is he was actually pretty tight with Gino Wickman.
You know?
I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm just saying he was one of the first. I do know for many, many years he was the number one seller of EOS.
I'm not surprised by that.
So
he's good at what he did.
But what he did was he had done EOS for a long time. And then he started to realize things he thought he could do differently.
Wanted to do better. Yeah.
So he went out and he created his own.
Yep.
And it's called Pinnacle. Yep. And he uses different metaphors and he uses different language. And I read his book. It's similar. There's a lot of similarities. But I also see where he drew on inspiration that I had seen him do when he was an integrator for the company that I was working with at that time. And I was like, okay, I see what he did there. He created something new. He spun off the ideas and he created something new. I essentially wanted the same thing.
Sure. And that's what you're going to do. Piece by piece. Plane in the air, and you're going to build it.
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
All right. So I'll give you a quick rundown on what I've been occupied with. I'm basically building the business plan for True My Identity as the pivot for the business is happening. I have completely dropped content development, and my focus is solely on this business plan because it's absorbing a lot of energy to think through things.
Yeah.
Even more so than I anticipated, actually. But I'm so enthralled by it. And our conversation last week, where we went through that $20,000 ChatGPT prompt or whatever it was.
That was fun.
I went through all of the different sources as you did. And I found some valuable nuggets. And one of them I actually did this morning because I've been building on the same chat to kind of further solidify my own plan. And I'm filling in some of the gaps that I haven't been able to articulate myself. And AI has been very helpful in helping me to articulate some of these things. And so I asked it the same question that I asked you when I was struggling, when I was venting. Remember when I was like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I even creating this? AI is going to be able to do this for a person, in a couple of years. Like, why is this even something that I want to try to build and sell?
Yeah.
So I ultimately asked ChatGPT after we had gone through all the exercises. I had told them what I'm trying to do. We looked at competitors. It broke down how I could position myself. It gave me messaging. It gave me, all the recommendations of things I could include in my business plan. But I came to the point where I was like, I'm going to ask it that question. I'm going to ask it, what would it be like if AI could actually do all this stuff? Would I even have a place in the marketplace?
Yeah.
So I asked, this is the prompt. Do you feel people will actually pay for what True My Identity's platform will offer? I ask because as AI models evolve and they get better at answering a person's questions, do you feel a person will rely on AI to help navigate their decisions for career, relationships, and life? What do you think? So the response I got, in summary, and I'll break out some of the details, yes, but only if the platform delivers a uniquely human. You remember what you answered with? Remember when we had this conversation, Bob?
Yeah.
That's what you said. You remember?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Personally relevant and emotionally resonant experience that AI alone can't replicate.
Yep.
And then it says, let's unpack this. So, people want meaning, not answers. AI gives quick advice. What it lacks is contextual emotional resonance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's an opportunity for me. AI doesn't provide reinforcement or identity building tools. People pay for systems that don't just inform them, but help them become who they believe they are. AI lacks earned trust and user control. Trust is a product feature. Platforms that lean into transparency and ownership will remain valuable. Personal growth isn't just logic, it's emotion, narrative, and timing. So in this one, they said emotional context creates perceived depth and earns repeat engagement. There's a lot more here. I'm trying to summarize.
Yeah. Yep.
Where AI does pose a challenge. This was interesting. I'm going to read this in entirety. Let's be honest. AI will commoditize surface level assessments and advice. Platforms like Character AI, Pi, or even GPT-4o can simulate a personal coach well enough to replace lightweight guidance tools. So True My Identity must go deeper than AI alone can go. And how they're posing it is, I need to trademark 58 trait as my assessment. I like that. 58 trait. Values and passionate intersection, or passion intersection. So the traits, the values, and your passions into one.
Mm-hmm.
Deliver physical or environmental reinforcement. So this is where I have the merch. I can offer journals, trackers, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So this is physical product to reinforce everything that you would be doing with me or True Identity. Offer community, accountability, and story, which AI currently doesn't do effectively. So you could start a community, right?
Yep.
Hold people accountable. This is one thing that I'm trying to work through in my planning. And it wasn't originally part of my strategy, but I think it needs to be because I'm trying to put more of the emphasis on what I'm going to offer as a platform that gives you decision-making options, right? And it's going to be options that are presented in a way that fits who you are based on your traits, your values, and your passions. And it gives you like a rank or an idea of which might be the best path or better paths. And then it'll give you the option to choose yourself. So like a choose your own adventure kind of style.
Right.
I'm thinking this is kind of where I want to go. I'm looking at the complexity though. I don't know if it's possible, but we'll see.
Hmm.
And then the story is the other part, right? So how can you keep track of through data and inform them of the story that they're building? Create structured transformation, not just conversations. So, as you and I have talked about True My Identity over the years, you have always challenged me in every report that I've ever showed you based on the data, like what is it going to help me actually do, right?
Mhm.
So I think that's the biggest thing. And I think where I'm going to go with it is it's going to help people make informed decisions based on who they are and make authentic authentic decisions
Hmm.
based on their traits and their values.
Yeah, right.
So view long term, people will still pay for guided, identity reinforcing, emotionally intelligent self-development experiences, especially when they're going through a life shift or decision point. They want to feel in control, not just advised. They want to align with life with their core identity, or align their life with their core identity. And they want tools that integrate across digital and physical life. So that was it in a nutshell.
Mhm.
For me, that was actually promising to at least hear that perspective broken out in that way. Granted, it's AI generating about AI, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's all speculative. Because I'm asking for future insight.
Yeah. Right.
At the same time, it gave me an idea of, again, how I can differentiate in the current marketplace, as well as maybe in the short term, future proof myself for AI development. So
Mhm.
I thought it was insightful. And, if you're listening to this, you're trying to figure out whether or not how your business might be impacted by AI, it might be a good idea to just ask. Like,
Yeah. Ask AI.
I mean, like if you're going through a process like this of trying to figure out, what are there opportunities out there, it
Yep.
might be a good idea to just ask AI, like, are you going to be doing this in a year, or
Yeah.
where do you see this going? So,
Well, I feel a lot smarter knowing that AI agreed with me on the whole like emotion human connection piece.
yeah,
Makes me feel better.
right.
I mean, that's kind of whatever, I mean, that's been written about in many, many of books, right? That we're still a ways away from AI having feelings or understanding emotions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But
that's the thing that us humans are going to hold very close to.
yeah, it also, and I mean, AI also doesn't have, experience to lean on and stuff like that. So yeah, there's just a whole bunch of that kind of element stuff that
Right,
you still need a human to guide you through.
right.
That's why I strongly believe that people like therapists and psychologists and stuff will never go away.
Yeah,
Um, I think there'll be products out there that will offer a bridge to that.
yep,
There'll be AI products that there already are. There's
yep,
already AI therapy apps that you can
yep,
talk, but still at the end of the day, that's just not going to suffice a human.
right. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's like when I put the competitor list together, I've got 13 legitimate existing products that are well established that are carving out similar, yet they found their own little niche, right?
right, right.
So whether it's an app or it's coaching or whatever, but they've all found their little niche, and it's all relevant with what I'm trying to do. I just got to find my little slice of the pie. So it's a $60 billion industry. I think I can find a little bit.
Yeah, I was actually just going to say, I don't know if you remember this, but a couple years ago, we were having a discussion about something around market share. If you owned 1% of the pie. I don't remember this. I wish I still
I could retire if I owned 1% of the pie.
It was such a small amount
Yep.
that you would need to actually be successful
Mm-hmm.
in the market. So yeah, totally. It's a huge industry. Same with the business coaching industry. It's huge. It's multi-millions and millions of tens of billions, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't take. Find a small tribe of people who like what you're doing, and you'll be just fine.
Right.
So
another thing that it played on for me that I found intriguing, and we've talked about this, and it was kind of the positioning. I don't know if it was built off of the prompt that I put together originally or not, but it said to focus the positioning on being an affordable option. Okay, because there's a lot of expensive solutions out there and it's more for coaching, right?
Sure, right. Yeah.
So, and this would be just more of a digital turnkey kind of experience that you could build off of based on the data that I'll accumulate from you, right?
Right.
So, and it does sound like a lot of these programs are starting to move to app format, AI driven response platforms. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to evolve over the next 5 years. So I'm hoping to get my initiative rolling before it's too late here, because I'm running out of time. You know what I mean?
You're up against a different competitor, the clock.
The clock's a big one, and it's just because these guys, they're already established. Oh, and the other thing that it said as a differentiator that made me happy was most of them are not featuring like products that reinforce whatever, position the individual is going to be taking as far as their priorities, which I'm sure they do from a merch standpoint. They have some kind of branding or something that they put together as for simple tchotchkes and such. But my whole premise was offer apparel and other products that aligned with your character traits, so you could literally have that as part of your lifestyle, right?
Right. Yep.
So that is actually a leg up that I have that they incorporated into the recommendations that I'm like, oh shit, maybe I haven't been wasting my time for the last 4 years. Maybe there is some legitimacy into actually what I've already established.
Absolutely.
So that was refreshing, because I can tell you that it felt like a waste of time for a little while. But it opened my eyes to, the reality of there is still value in what I created. I just have to figure out how to make it work within the new fold of things. So
yeah.
Sometimes you just have the blinders on, and you just need a different perspective to be thrown in your face so you can actually, take a good look at something.
So I mentioned earlier,
don't rub too hard, man. You're going to take that skin right off.
My brain. I have so many thoughts and ideas. My brain's about ready to explode.
Okay, was that too much?
No, that was great, and actually, that's kind of where I'm going with this. I mentioned a little bit earlier one of my favorite exercises that I've been trying to hone and master is scenario planning.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually something I've like been reading books on and studying, because I would love to offer this as a service. And I think it's so crucial, so crazy. But at the end of the day, the reason why companies do scenario planning is exactly what you're talking about. There are constantly things that are being developed. Things are changing.
Mm-hmm.
There's new things that enter the marketplace, like AI.
Mm-hmm.
There's new competitors.
Yep.
There's new external forces.
Yep.
And you're going through this right now. Right. You're framing it under building a business plan, which is great. That's what you should be doing.
Yep.
But just the sake that you went through the exercise of asking AI, hey, wait a second, are you going to be one of my chief
Right.
competitors?
Yeah.
Is you are scenario planning. You
Yeah.
are basically saying, this is something that may hit my radar. How am I going to be ready for it?
Right.
And so, yeah, that's why I'm like super excited about you going through this exercise, because
Mhm.
I think it's super duper important, and a lot of companies don't think about it.
Right.
Um, Sophisticated companies do. They take the time to actually go through these exercises.
Yeah, this is part of their annual planning, right? I mean, those that are disciplined in this will evaluate
Yeah,
products or brands, the major brand, the parent brand, or even the products
yep,
themselves on an annual basis, just to make sure they're not missing any opportunities
yeah,
or any hindrances that may be rising.
yep. And I wrote a blog post a couple of years ago about wargaming, and I want to be respectful
Mm,
of, of the terminology, because there are countries right now that are actually in war,
mm,
but but the term has been used in business for a
yep.
very long time, and it comes from military roots. But wargaming is essentially the exercise of walking through something that's going to disrupt your business.
Yep.
And you walk through, it takes a day and a half to 2 days to conduct a wargaming exercise where you basically say, this is going to happen, and how am I going to compete against it? How am I going to overcome it? And
Right.
you're kind of doing that in a small way here by testing what are the bounds that AI could reach
Yep.
that's going to impact where you want to go.
Yep. Exactly.
And now through the exercise we did last week, you've got a list of competitors, so you can see what they're doing.
Yep.
Um, and you're building basically your own. You're doing scenario planning to reach how you're going to build your business plan.
Yep.
I love that, just because
Yeah. I got to figure out how I'm going to position myself in my market. Right. I
absolutely. And
mean,
then because you're sophisticated, you will do it every year.
well, certainly hope so. You know what? Honestly, though, I hope I'm so effing busy that I don't have time to do it.
That's
Really,
that would
that's
be
what
the
the hope.
goal.
Yeah,
But because you're a smart business professional, you will still take the time to do it,
yeah, I
because
probably
even
will
when you are
actually.
growing,
Yeah,
you're going to be wanting to understand how you can get even better.
right.
And
Yeah.
AI today is going to be, or just using AI as one example,
Hmm.
one competitor, if you will,
Yep.
is going to be drastically different 1 year from now,
Drastically.
and may actually have some abilities that will disrupt what you're building today.
Well, I'm telling you right now, if this is going to shape up the way that I'm seeing it, AI is going to be integral to the development that I'm going to have to put into play. So
Yeah.
if that's changing, my business changes. So I
Right.
have to be on top of that.
Right.
So it's going to be fun. It's going to be challenging. I'm going to be tapping into your expertise on things.
Mm. Well,
You're a little more savvy when it comes to tech, because the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm thinking I'm going to have to build
mm,
um, AI integrations. I'm going to have a data set that's going to have to be able to be easily accessed. It's not going to cost me a fortune.
yep.
That's going to be secure, right? That's going to be a big thing. The data that I'm going to be collecting.
Mhm.
It's not going to be a lot of PI data, but it is going to be tied to an individual and a payment, right? So I will have payment information.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to be conscious of all of this stuff as I'm thinking about how I'm going to build all this out to do what I wanted to do. And of course, I'm going down all kinds of roads in my brain as I'm working through this stuff. But um,
But there's no better time in the history of our world
right,
where you can do this stuff.
I know, and
And
I have to take advantage of it, right?
you know what's funny? Take
We're on
AI.
the cusp of it right now. That's what's
Yeah.
so exciting about it, is I'm still at the beginning. I'm still at the beginning.
You know how
Right?
they keep saying like AI, the worst it'll be is today. This is the worst AI will be, because every day it's getting better. That's just true of everything.
I'll be honest with you. I, I was recently out of college when the internet boom was happening, right? A few years out of college.
Yeah.
I did not take advantage of that opportunity then.
Sure.
Okay. Because that was a game changer. That changed how we functioned.
Yep.
Websites and the internet from the mid 90s to the bubble burst was everything. And it all changed how we operated. So I'm not missing this one. I am jumping on this son of a bitch, and I am holding on, and I am going to learn how to do it, and I am going to figure out how to do it the way that I want to do it for my business. And I think everybody has to have that mindset, because if you don't, I don't know if you're going to be able to actually work within the scheme of things that the world is going to evolve around.
Right.
So if it's not a priority right now, you have to at least look at it so you can understand how it could potentially be an opportunity for your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I know it could be a little scary. I mean, I don't want to say that this is not, it's unknown. It's unknown territory. We're building this stuff in the air.
Yeah.
Like you talked about. And even the experts, like the ones that actually have built it from the ground up, they kind of don't fully know what this is going to end up being.
Yeah.
And that's a little scary. I get it.
I know there was one other topic we were going to talk about. I don't know.
And we might not have time. That's okay.
We can always say that for next week, because there's one other thing I want to bring up as it relates to all of this.
Yeah, please.
Have you noticed this trend lately? All these big AI CEOs are coming out now and talking about how dangerous AI is going to be.
Yeah. I've seen more of it.
It's just very interesting, because it's been like 3 or 4 of them now that have come out and done media interviews where they're talking about, if we don't get this under control. I just think it's interesting. It's interesting how they were fighting that for so long, and now all of a sudden they're coming out and saying that. I wonder, and I'm not trying to play conspiracy theory here, but
yes, you are.
I mean, I'd like to. I just think the timing is interesting. They're all coming out. There's something on the horizon that is coming up quick. And I feel like none of them are saying it, but they're trying to allude to it, that there's some major development coming. I mean, I know we're waiting for ChatGPT 5 to hit at some point. I've heard rumors of that.
Yeah,
but, the next wave of AI advancement really disrupt everything.
I'm sure there is something in the seeds of what they're talking about as it relates to the AI capabilities. I do think there is something there. Like they're seeing something that's probably like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming, right?
Yeah.
I think there's some of that. I do. I think they're seeing that all the time, though. I think they get impressed by their own products sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's some of that. Here's the other thing, though, and I think this is what is freaking out other people, not just AI leaders and experts. It is business leaders, it is scientists, it is other human experts in different disciplines. They're seeing the impact in their discipline. They're seeing how it is. I think the biggest thing that is going to really mess with us humans is our inability to change and modify how we live our lives as quickly as AI is able to change, how it's able to do that for us.
Right.
That's going to be the problem.
Yeah.
I think they're seeing job losses right now.
Yeah.
I think they're seeing shifts from people not needed to do certain roles, and that's going to be problematic.
Yeah.
From an economic standpoint, from a human, existence standpoint, right? Because I'm sorry, but if you can't work to earn a wage, you're not purchasing products.
Yeah.
You're probably struggling. You're going to have to be on government programs or something, right?
Yep.
That's a big suck for the economy. That's a big problem
Yep.
for institutions.
Yep.
And I think people are getting a little fearful of that now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't disagree. I think there are huge economic impacts, like you said.
I think there's biological impacts. I think people are starting to think less. I think people are starting to not rationalize as much as they used to because they can just ask AI.
Yeah.
They don't
Right.
have to think through it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's going to impact people. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Come on, look at every advancement in mankind history. I mean, even take cell phones.
Right.
It changed human behavior. It changed the way we communicate,
Yep.
connect,
Yep.
network with people.
Yep. With all
And
the benefits, we're also seeing the problems.
oh yeah, huge problems.
Yep.
So this is just that next wave of that.
It
That
is.
goes all the way back to the Industrial Revolution.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
so yeah, no, I agree. I think you're exactly right, and my guess is they are seeing it, or at least there's been a shift with those AI companies, and I think maybe the shift has been, to your point, we're making something really cool, and now the shift is, crap, how's this actually affecting
How are we going to deal with it?
humans? Yeah, humans. It's almost like, and I'm all for rapid advancement, and I'm all for that. I dig it, but it's almost like we're moving a little too fast. And I'm not the first person to say that. So this isn't a new idea. We've been
No.
talking about this now for a couple of years.
Right.
We're moving too fast before we have the scenario planning ready.
Mhm.
We're
Yep.
just kind of building it. I did hear the greatest argument I heard in relation to this about why we need to keep moving fast. And I don't want to get into politics. I really don't give a shit about politics, but it was like, well, there's a lot of bad people out there, governments, foreign governments that are developing quick and fast too. And if we don't keep up with that, we face the risk of being behind when they want
Oh
to use
yeah, well, I just read a report on OpenAI finding China groups
it.
in China, infiltrating
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
systems.
Yeah. And so it's like we can talk about regulation all we want here in the US and how we want to regulate AI and the development of AI and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But the argument against that was, yeah, sure, we regulate, but those other governments ain't regulating anything. And they're developing just fast and they're going to use it for bad reasons. I'm not saying all of them will. I'm just saying, like, there's a couple I could think of.
There are bad players out there, and they're going to play bad.
You know, we don't get much access to North Korea, but you can't tell me they're not cooking up something right now.
Oh yeah,
They don't give a shit about regulation.
yeah. They're probably working on things to help their citizens, and they're trying to figure out how they get one up on their enemies.
Absolutely. And we
Yep.
are
Just
enemy
like
number one.
everybody else.
Yeah, just like
Yep.
exactly. So it's like, Um yeah, this is fascinating. I'm really excited to be at the point we're at where we're seeing this unfold.
Yeah, I know.
I
It's
mean,
exciting. It's exhilarating. It's a little scary. It's a little intimidating.
yeah.
Knowing that I am have to play in this arena with my very surface level understanding of the depth of how this goes is a little intimidating actually it's a lot intimidating for me, to
Yeah.
be frank. It is. I don't know how to code. All right. So I'll just be frank with that. But this is another world of
Yeah.
code. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So it's as cool as it is, it's so fascinating. And I remember the first day you told me, "Hey, ChatGPT, you got to check it out. It just launched." And you were so fired up. And
Oh,
I
for sure.
remember it and you told me about all the books you've read about this, and you've just been waiting for this. And I'm first in line to become the robot that turns that I'm gonna be the $6 million man, right? I remember
I
you
think you
telling
said
me that.
RoboCop, but yeah.
RoboCop was part of it, yeah.
Yep.
But your enthusiasm was tenfold where I was. And I will tell you, since that day and diving in headfirst on this stuff, because I saw the potential, I have become incredibly enthusiastic with the opportunity. that this actually presents. And in the back of my mind, a little fearful because of the bad players and the things that we don't fully understand, but we're not going to understand it unless we try. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, before ChatGPT came out, we were messing around with tools like Jasper. Remember?
Yeah,
right. Like create blog posts and stuff. But based on everything I'd read up to that point, I knew that was still peanuts compared to what
that was just
I didn't know where it was going to start was this generative AI kind of thing. I actually thought it was going to be a little bit more actual like AGI type stuff. I didn't read enough of the research in the books to understand that we had to go through this generative stage, but boy, has it been fun. Now we're getting to agents and, agentic AI and we're probably on the cusp of actual AGI. And I'm most excited about it. Well, personally, because I think it would be awesome to have AI embedded in
pretty much everything.
In life right now. But I'm really excited about how it's going to transform the way we do business.
Yeah, you said you wanted to be the first to get a chip in your head to control everything.
I'm in.
I literally just had a conversation with another father because it's my boy's last day of school, and we had friends over and family members over from those friends. And I was talking to one of the fathers, he's a real estate agent. He was telling me how they just implemented an agent at the brokerage that he's at, and it has changed his daily routines to be so much easier. And I'm just like, I don't understand why people aren't looking to do that kind of thing with whatever it is they do on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just, it's changing so fast and people just got to get on board.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's not going away.
No, and I'm all for making things easier. I mean, I think there is a path to get to where maybe economically we can. This is very
ooh, where are we going?
This is very utopia.
Ooh, here we go.
But maybe there is a day when our products and services are delivered by robots, AI, whatever.
I think that's inevitable.
And we actually, as humans, get to do the things we want to do.
Right.
And I think what we'll be responsible for is maintaining our, our ownership over robots or AIs. We can't just sit around and do nothing.
I hope that we're still the creators. That's what I hope.
Right. Yeah.
I hope we're the drive for creation on Earth, and I hope that the robots can help us do it.
And hopefully, my guess is it will free up and unlock new creative avenues we haven't even thought of yet.
Right.
And actually, there's probably a lot of people right now, as an example, that have unbelievable skills and gifts and talents that they could offer that they just can't do right now because they have to pull 2 shifts working, to meet minimum wage,
right,
and barely scrape by and live. And if we loosen that burden and find a way to make it economic for everybody, where everybody can still make money so we can still fuel the economy and buy the things we want to buy, we may unlock some things we've never even imagined at this point.
There are people who don't even know AI exists today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even though we've been talking about it for 2 years.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. They don't even know what it is.
Yep.
Now imagine some of those people were educated on it, informed on how to use it, and given the ability to create whatever they wanted.
Yeah, right.
What would that be like?
Yeah.
All these minds that are untapped right now.
Yep.
That's what's exciting to me.
Yeah. Yep.
And a little fearful.
Yeah. Yeah, with all good things comes sometimes some negative consequences.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at one of my favorite Pixar. Is it Pixar? I'm not sure if it's what it is, but WALL-E, the movie WALL-E.
It's one of my favorites.
I love that movie, but
I do too.
It's also very sad.
It is.
Not Wally himself. But, he found
No,
love.
but the
Love.
Earth is decimated, and
Well, Earth's decimated, and the humans are just
humans are blobs in space.
yeah, and they're not doing anything other than sipping Slurpees and watching TV.
There are days where that sounds amazing, though.
Well, yes, don't get me wrong. But I mean, I'm all for. I would love to see the advancements in AI help with things
If
like.
that happens ever, I will start my movie review blog that I've always
Oh,
wanted to do.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah, yeah, oh yeah. I'm first in that seat. Um, I'm all for AI helping with healthcare and solving things like cancer and all that, and I want that stuff to happen so we don't have to suffer from those things. But there's even negative consequences to that:
Sure.
overpopulation, stress of resources in our world, like, and it's so you can't get so those are problems that still need to be solved.
Dude, there are pros and cons to every scenario.
Absolutely. So yeah. Okay. This just veered off into a
I love having these conversations with you when we get off topic.
yeah, well, I don't know.
You like to do that once in a while.
Do what exactly?
Just go down a different route.
Yeah, no, I my mind wanders.
Yeah.
It wanders to I'm not some great, thinker or anything. I don't think about these things all day, but when they do,
You do too.
when they pop in my head, I like to think about those kind of things. I heard something. It was crazy. That's something like kids who are like 10 right now or 15 or something. They're actually going to get to see the year 2100, which that blows my mind.
Right?
I mean, you won't be along. Be here for that.
No.
And it's like it's just fascinating to think about. Like, holy crap!
Yeah,
The things
my
are
son could see that. Yeah.
some gentleman, kind of friend of a friend on Facebook, who passed away, and he was like 99 years old or something like that, just almost to 100. It's like that dude saw the first cars. Like,
Yeah. My grandma's 105.
Okay, I mean, think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, you're a kid and you're seeing a car, and you're just like,
Right.
that is fucking amazing.
Right.
Like, that's not a horse, bro.
Right.
And then now they're seeing AI.
She still has a flip phone.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But imagine having a flip phone
Yeah, right.
when you're, 90 years old.
But me and you also will get to experience very similar things. We were pre-internet.
Yeah, right.
We were around before there was the internet.
I'm telling you, I'm not missing this boat, dude.
I know. We were around before there were cell phones.
Yep.
So let's say we do go another 40 years in our life. Think of the things we're going to see by the year 2060.
Right.
I don't know. Hey, you know what? I'm here for it. I'm here for it, and I'm with you. I'm not going to miss a beat on any of this.
I'm riding this baby.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
I am going to do everything I can to take advantage of what I can.
All right. Well, we will wrap it up, and we'll hold our topic for next week.
Yeah, I think we should.
And
Since we've talked an hour.
Yeah, no, we've done good. We've done good. I loved your update, and I love where you're going. It's fascinating to me.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So, and I love how you're just doing the planning and the thinking, and to me, I think that's the part I love.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. I wish I were making more progress on actually, finding customers and selling products and building content. But at the same time, it is rewarding to gain clarity. So
Yeah,
it's
sure.
helpful. It's helpful to go through the exercise.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. We are gaining some subscribers. We're gaining some viewers. So yeah, subscribe to the channel. Like the
I think
video.
Bob would say that every video, even if we weren't. So just
Oh,
know that we're working on that.
I'm a marketer, so when I'm not lying, cheating, and stealing babies' candies, I'm making YouTube videos. So
oh my gosh.
yeah, no, we are gaining subscribers though. We are gaining watch time. Our channel is growing. It's exciting. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Make sure to check out Luke's website, trueidentity.com.
Thank you.
Check out my website.
BobStanky.com.
Yep, it's all good. Do all
See
those
what's
things.
shaking with all of his new content he keeps putting up.
Do all those things. And yeah, I guess we'll see you in the next one.
Sounds like a plan, man. Thanks for the time. Have a great
All right.
weekend.
Later.
Peace.